Tuesday the 30th of March. I haven't posted a video for ages, and that was because I kept on taking videos and didn't put them online or even sort them out off my phone, and it got a lot and I got flustered and it might start making me anxious. So I thought, bugger it, because it's meant to be a diary for me to help me remember. And I deleted all those and I thought I'd start again. And it's quite cool as well because there's a great deal of difference since I last took a video. Doggy is now anchored to mummy, so she's bimbling all the time, which is cool. She's getting better. So the first thing you'll notice is a lot of the original traditional daffodils have started to fade. They're earlier than the others, the narcissi, like the group we first saw. But they're being replaced by the later narcissi and other different types of flowers. Now, I seem to have a lot of these. I planted one bag of traditionals and then one bag of fancy, as I call them, different ones. But I seem to be getting a lot of these, which, oh, I really do not mind at all. Look at those. Great big blousy double daffodils or narcissi, I can never remember which is which, but they remind me of my roses. My roses, the old type, almost cabbage roses with multiple flowers, petals, and I think these are beautiful. They really, really are, and I seem to have quite a lot of them, which, no hardship, really not. But I've also got, simpler ones like this one here, where the trumpet is just a slightly different shade. There's another one of those. I've got, these are from last year, but these are lovely. These ones, these are a multiple-headed narcissi, so you've got lots and lots of flowers coming off the one stem. Doggy's looking for frogs, not yet, dear. And then this one, there's one open further out, it's a tiny little white one, but there's one further down which I will show you. And I've done quite a bit since the last video. I can't remember if I told you. I have actually cut back the roses. So I've got rid of all the weak and spindly stems. Any sign of black spot. This one's normally alright for black spot. I didn't spray them at all last year because we had a leaf cutter bee making nests. And I thought, bugger it, I'd rather have the leaf cutter bee making nests. So it got a bit aphidy, and because it got aphidy, it got black spot. Now this one over here is quite prone to black spot. This one is called Handle, and it's a climbing hybrid tea, I think, but it is a lovely rose, which you will see later on in the year. And I've cut a lot of the spindly stuff up here back, because I would like it to climb over that little piece of that's supporting the electrical cable into the shed. And I've also tied this big one. It was very strong and healthy, but it was pointing out the wrong way, so I've tied it to the back. And then I've cut out all the spindly ones. This one does tend to grow spindly, and it is very easy to get black spots. So I've got just a fungus fighter this time. They are showing signs of aphids, so I will spray for aphid and black spot with a multi-rose mix. You know, I'm only a gardener, I'm not anything special. And that will hopefully keep this one. The flowers on this are brilliant. I did notice when I first had roses, I had 4 of them, and I bought them from the garden centre because they smelled beautiful and they looked lovely, and then I realised they were nearly all the same colour. So I have a colour. This one I have replaced, one of them died, so this one has been replaced it, and this is a red rose. This is also very prone to fungus. This is why you don't see a lot in the summer. You won't see things too close to the roses because they don't like to be crowded. But I want to take the trellis and open it up so it's more open like the other two further down. I have planted at the back here. I actually discovered that many of the delphiniums had actually survived the chicken attack. So we have one dinky one and then 2 others. So I planted one in that far corner and then just one here yesterday, just to fill in some of the gaps. We should also have 2 echinacea plants down there. That one is a lovely daisy looking plant that I can't remember its name. We have the bearded iris, and then this is the perennial, puppy, get your head out of the way, the perennial wallflower, which comes up with beautiful pastely purple, and they start off a lovely sort of peachy pink fleshy colour, and then they turn into these lovely purple all the other way round. So they start off purple and go peach, but they're lovely, and they're with the variegated leaves. It's really nice. Oh, the comfrey, ouch, sorry puppy. The comfrey's coming through. That one needs a bit of a trim because one of the old stems has died back. That is wormwood. I have a lot of old-fashioned medicinal herbs. I do medieval reenactment. I used to be the surgeon, so I grow a lot of, come over, I grow a lot of various herbs. That one is hyssop. I couldn't remember its name the other day. This is hyssop. It is, I used to use it for my asthma if I had nothing else available, and as you can probably see, it's a very old plant. There used to be two here, and the pink one died, and this one, I think I'm going to have to replace it. It's also very good in mincemeat dishes like spaghetti bolognese or chili. It gives it a lovely flavour. It brings out the flavour of the mince as well. And then this down here, I think you can see it just in my shower. This is yarrow. It is a wild plant in the country, and is also grown, it's Achilles, which was named after the god Achilles, because it was one of the medicinal herbs he used to heal wounds. It's also known as staunch blood. It helps the blood clot and things like that. But these are cultivated varieties. I think this one's red, and I've got the yellow one that I'm going to plant later. Now over here, you'll see that this daffodil hasn't grown a daffodil, or have I? But this hasn't grown a daffodil this year. Sometimes they do that, and this is what I do to them when they haven't, or when they finish flowering. So I tie a knot in them. You'll see that as they finish flowering, because it gets the leaves out of the way, because that is quite, yeah. And it helps them die back, because you want to leave the leaves on, because the bulbs will take the energy from the leaves and store it in the bulb. And if you're leaving your bulbs in the ground, you want them to be as healthy as you possibly can. So my dad used to do this, and I don't know why, but I think it's cute, and I do it too. But as you can see, the primroses and primulas are flowering. I did think we nearly had all red, so I've planted a couple of blue ones over there. We have the wild primrose down there, and I think this one over here is a cowslip. If you see, these are the flowers are born, the multiple flowers are born on tall stems, whereas in the primrose you just have single stems like the primulas. I planted some foxgloves at the back, and I've planted one over there, so there should be a lovely display of foxgloves behind these flowers. So again, keeping the tree relatively clear. And the rose. I mean, that leafy thing you can see just in there, just beginning to sprout, that's an agapanthus. So the agapanthus and the iris will grow tall and thin and not shade them very much. And around the rose, there's very little. I mean, the wormwood is kept in its cage, or it'll go mental, and there's a vervain further back which also is kept in a cage to keep it constrained. Right, I have to turn all the way around because otherwise I'll trip over the dog. Yes, so we have these lovely ones that you saw at the beginning. Another one of those stunning flowers. Oh, the fox terrant has just started working, and it, I don't know if you can hear it, but it hurts my ears. And that at the back, that clump is valerian. You might have heard of it in over-the-counter sleep medicines, you know, like Nitol and things like that. That is another herb, but the flowers smell beautiful. Great big, it'll grow almost as tall as the fence with its flowers. And it has beautiful big white umbelliform flowers, which look like umbrellas. Big white flowers that smell beautiful in the evening. Now here is the other little white one, daffodil narcissus. I think this is called wedding cake or something. I do not know because I'm terrible with names, but again, it's a multi-flowering one, and it just has these lovely little white flowers. I can't get into focus. There we go. Look at that. That's so sweet. And we've got a couple of stems on that one, and a few more to come, which is lovely. So, oh gosh, So yes, this, oops, that big clump of leaves down there is wild garlic. They have lovely little white flowers on. All of these leaves under the tree will be bluebells. The lungwort has started flowering. So these blue flowers, these are lungwort, again a medicinal plant, pulmonara, which is Latin for lungs, because they believed that the leaves with their spots resembled lungs, and in the medieval thinking, if it looked like something, it was used to cure that thing. And this is actually was used for lung conditions, coughs, colds and things like that. Over here, these yellow buttercup type flowers, this is the celandine. That one was known as pilewort. You can tell what that was used for. Yeah, but these are these when they get really going, they will form a carpet of yellow buttercup flowers, which is lovely. So far, everything's going splendidly. Oh, one tulip, actually two tulips. We have this one here, which is going to be a red tulip. I can't remember what colours I planted. And then we've got one further down the garden, because it's been windy. Oh, yep. So we also have elephant ears. And these have lovely pink flowers. Look at that. And big green leaves. And then next to it, coming and taking over from the narcissus, are grape hyacinths. These are, I just think they're fabulous. Maybe it's a better one. They just look like a little upside down bunch of grapes. But they're cute. And the other tulip is back down here. For some reason, the wind was stronger towards this end, probably because of the trees and hitting the shed. So this one decided to err on the side of caution, and it was 6 inches tall, and it thought, bugger it, I'm going to flower. Which is cool. Hopefully next year it'll be a bit better. So far that's it up here. It's doing lovely. I'm very impressed. I can't wait again until next year when the daffodils have established themselves firmly and we get more. I mean, this is a beautiful display, but next year I can't wait. Right, show you what I've done around the back. Right, so we've had a bit of a shuffle round. I've put up the shelves and I've put on their cover. Now this green cover is a green netted cover, and the reason for that is it actually is designed to keep it a bit cooler. This spot, which is sort of the only spot I can really have these shelves, is nearly always in sunlight. So this morning when I opened it up, it was nice and warm, but it does actually keep it a little cooler than it would if they had no cover at all. And certainly with a plastic cover they get ridiculously warm. And the cold frame is open now, and in here you can see I've planted in the bare pots, these are gladioli. Now gladioli are tall, they don't take up much space, so they're very useful for if you have a hole in your planting, maybe something's died or something's not grown properly, or there's just a gap that you want to fill in. These are handy. Now these are multiple colours, and I've just put them randomly in pots. The biggest pot has 3 and the others have 2, and these will be dug up at the end of the season, dried and then repotted next year. So I've got quite a few of those. And then there's this wonderful plant that I pulled up from the conservatory because it doesn't like the sun. Where it was in by the conservatory bed. Hello, do you want breakfast? Yes. In a minute, sweetheart. Where it was in the conservatory bed, it was fine for most of the time. Hello. But it would get the midday sun, and that was it, just the midday sun, which is the worst type of sun because that's invariably the hottest, and it would burn the leaves. Now you can see the leaves are like Aquilegia but smaller, and it has these very tall stems with these wonderful just pink pom-poms on it. It's absolutely lovely. And the idea with them is I could see them from the conservatory. So I have things like foxgloves and a couple of tall plants like this, and I can see those from the conservatory in summer. But it really didn't like it. So I dug it up last year, split it into 3 pots. It's doing really wonderfully, but I have no idea where to plant it. So I need to find somewhere where it's shaded. Yeah, because underneath the bay tree, because of the very heavy canopy and the trees, it's quite dry. So I do have to water that more than anywhere else with the plants. I've tried putting, I don't know if this would suit. I'll have to have a look up, see if I can find out what it is and see if that will cope. But it's doing really well. Okay, down here, I don't know if you can see them. It's a flush of green. They're my leeks. So they're coming on nicely. They're my early leeks. I will plant them when they are big enough to handle, which is not for a while yet. So that's what I put in there, and this still gets closed at night, but I tend to open it in the daytime because these are going to be planted out. Now this one is the next step along. So things that are grown in the greenhouse come into the cold frame, and then they go into this, because this, give it another week or so, will be left open. These are, yes, I'm not growing toilet rolls. I'm not mad. Lockdown hasn't made me try and grow toilet rolls. I keep toilet rolls from about Christmas time onwards, and I make these into little pots. There we go. So I fold up the bottoms. There we go. And then I fill them with compost, and these are for my broad beans. Broad beans, they're better if they're not disturbed. The roots aren't disturbed, so with these you can plant them straight in the ground. These will need watering again. And then we have the gladioli, the spare delphiniums. I have a Mother's Day Aquilegia, and then another Achillea, which is the yarrow, and this one's a yellow one. We have spare foxgloves. We have a lovely euphorbia. And again, euphorbias, the wild versions were used as medicinal properties, but they weren't very nice. They're quite poisonous, so you had to be very careful. I bought some new primroses because, like I said, my other primroses didn't last the winter very well, and I'm going to put these outside the front door. And then my auricula, which I'm going to have to move because they're starting to flower. Now these are purely for me because I adore auriculas. Oops, sorry puppy. Clumsy bugger. I do, I love auriculas, so oops. You'll see why. They have beautiful flowers, and I need to put them somewhere where they can display them. They were traditionally shown in what was called a theatre, which is like staged steps and things. I have my steps, actually. I can plant them out. But the spare delphiniums, the spare foxgloves, I think I'm going to plant along the back of the greenhouse. Saren! That's why I dropped the phone. Stop it. I'm going to plant back there because I don't want to get rid of them, and I'll just plant them back there. The delphiniums are quite tall. And then I've got some strawberry plants that might go down here as well. So we'll see. I'll show you inside the greenhouse. Still waiting for breakfast. Give me 5 minutes. There you go. Lots of plants. Right, well, these are the ones that you probably last saw as empty trays of compost. So we have our cabbages and our cauliflowers here. Now what I've done is I have pulled out all of the seeds that were unnecessary. So we have 1 cabbage plant per tray. So these are the primos. So I actually have 10 there. I have 9 of the greyhounds and a few of the cauliflowers, but the cauliflowers I can plant all year round. And then the celeriac are actually growing. Now it's got a bit warmer, they've started off, which is fabulous. Beetroot. Now these are multiple sowings of beetroot. As you can see, I think this was an old packet because they've not done very well. But I tend to grow my beetroot outside and individually, so this was sort of an experiment. Lots of lettuces. Now I'm going to separate the lettuces. When they say large enough to handle, I normally wait until they have their first set of true leaves. Now, if you look at the cabbages, these large, what you would think of as leaves, aren't. They're actually the cotyledons, and these are the parts that were inside the seed ready to grow, and these sprout out and give it its first photosynthesis. But the true leaves are the second set that follow, that literally look like baby cabbage leaves or baby lettuce leaves. There we go. So these next bits, these are your true leaves. I realise I hadn't shown you this bed or the inside flowers. I mean, I want to catch up on everything. I have fed the cats first though. They would have been very disgruntled if I came here. So we have some more lungwork here, and this is growing, and you can see next to it, that is a crane's bill, and so is that, the little sort of buttercuppy type flowers. This is doing splendidly. This stands up really nicely. Now we're beginning to get leaves as well coming at the bottom. These spiky shoots, you can see these are lily of the valley, and they smell beautiful. This one, which is, as I said, well, this is probably Hellebore niger, or Niger, or whatever, it means black, is about done. I mean, you can see the dark brown flowers. These are, oops, these are done and beginning to go to seed, so we only have a few of these white ones left. So that was one of these. Well, these have been flowering since before Christmas, so well done. Here are some foxgloves again I've planted. So we have over here, you can just see it there. I think that is a relative of the one I dug out last year. This one does really well. This one has white pom-pom flowers, but that's just getting started. And then, like I say, we have the foxgloves there. There. This is the other hellebore that is just about done. I think this is a variant of Hellebore orientalis. And then this one, lots of leaves, not so many flowers this year, but the ones that did come out were just beautiful. And again, I think this is a variation of Hellebore orientalis. But I only planted that one 2 winters ago, so this was its second winter. So no, it was allowed to. It's still establishing itself. We also have some dog violets, which are quite sweet. I mean, I don't mind them not pollinating, but self-seeding. That's quite cool. And some more lily of the valley. So everything's coming. Oh, and then we have this at the back. Now this is a strange plant, but I saw it last year and it worked and I planted it. This is where the ones that are in the greenhouse was, and at the moment everything's in shade. But later on in the year, the sun comes through that gap up there and scorched the poor plant as it was growing here. So I've put this inside, and this grows an enormous stem of flowers that look nothing like a lily. You'll see them later on in the year. I mean, it's nice, and it grows tall, so I can see it from in the conservatory. So this is that one. So yeah, that's doing really nicely. I do love the hellebores. They have a beautiful display in spring, and sometimes when you're not likely to get down the bottom of the garden because of the rain and the wind and all the Eugen Vegan, these are just lovely to see. Beautiful. These are the only plants I have in the conservatory, and these are peppers. I mean, it's warm in here this morning. My husband is doing a beautiful job at laying laminate in the bedroom, so unfortunately this is his workshop for the moment. It is over 20 degrees in here, which is gorgeous. So everything's doing okay. I mean, There you go. She's still monstrous. This jade cactus is unfortunately going to have its springtime chop. I cut off the bits that stick out too far because, as you can see with the debris on the floor, she gets bashed every time somebody walks outside. And with the Jim doing the upstairs, he's had breakfast now, he's happy. She just gets damaged, so I do cut her back. I mean, goodness only knows how big she would be. I've had her for years and years, and I do this every spring. So yeah, so she's chopped back so she fits in the space she's supposed to fit in the space, but by next spring she's enormous again. I mean, it would be nice to have somewhere where she could stretch herself out and be as big as she wanted to be, but they do fall over. They do fall over, bless them. I mean, it's like she's tied to the wall. And it's unfortunate when something this large and this beautiful falls over and you lose the majority of all those lovely leaves. What's happening tonight? It's just... No. Come on, focus. You're being awkward this morning. Aha. Yeah, you found the automatic focus, that'll do. My cactuses are doing awesome. One of the cactus stroke succulents has dropped a friend, but I think I'll try and pop that on and see what happens. These aren't doing too badly, but I have replacements. It's very hard to repot these. The branches are so brittle that when you try and repot them, they do tend to snap, but I will show you. I think I might take these off. I mean, they grow very quickly and they fill these little pots, and it is just very difficult to repot them without losing a lot of the hanging branches, which is a shame. The gerbera is recovering, but slowly. These are some hyacinths. I found a load of bulbs in the back of a cupboard earlier, so I've planted out the ones I could, and the hyacinths I've put in pots. They'll flower inside, they'll smell beautiful, and then I will take them out, dry them, and remember to put them in a pot earlier so they flower for early spring rather than now. I mean, they're still okay. My cactus are doing beautifully. I mean, you've got to remember, all of these lovely things I have up here, all of these wonderful, monstrous, gorgeous cactus. Look at that one. And then these ones in here as well. It looks like you want to cuddle that one, it's so fabulous. They all started off in these tiny, tiny pots. And these tiny, tiny, tiny pots. And yeah, so these two, well, especially the one on the left, that looks like it could be repotted. This one doesn't seem to be growing very much. Maybe it's a slow grower. It does try and produce amazing flowers, but yeah, because these two were the same size last year. And the one on the left's gone mad, and the one on the right's not done a lot. So we'll try and give that some TLC. And this one, I can remember my mum had one that was the size of a table tennis bat. It was enormous. But I like them. I like them. They do well in here. And then we have one with a dimple. That one has a belly button. And that's sweet. I like cactus. I try and get different types. I like variation. I hate repotting them. I've got a couple of sets of gloves that are just pure thick leather gloves. And this one's doing wonderfully, as you can see. She's stopped flowering. I shall take those off now. But she's doing lovely. I think you can see the new growth. And this is her pot. She will be repotted into that pot, because the ones with the bottoms that are narrower, like I say, they tip over. So she's got a big square pot with the bumblebee on, well, tubular, you know what I mean. And that should hopefully stop her falling over, because they fall over, they get damaged. There's not a lot to say about him, is there? What I want to do is repot him and then give him to my sisters. But I can't see them yet, so he will have to wait. If you have something that is pot bound, I mean, repot it, of course. But if you can't, every time you water it, feed it. and it will be more like, you know, it'll end up like a hydroponic thing then, because it won't have much soil, but it'll be getting its food and its nutrients from the water. And leave a tray. You know, there's a tray down there. I always make sure it's filled up and the water runs into the tray. Once the water is running into the tray, I then will leave it. But yeah, it definitely needs repotting this year. More hyacinths, they're doing all right. This bowl doesn't have drainage, so I'm trying to be very careful about how much water I put in there. But I do love hyacinths, they smell beautiful. And then the offspring up there. And then this one, I mean, I always seem to get them that long and then they start dying back up there, which is really irritating. So I shall try again, and this time, try and get it right. I do love them, I love the colour. I've got a nice one in the kitchen, I shall show you that now. This is a variation on the one that's in the conservatory. It's smaller and is variegated with pink. So you still have the dark pink under leaves. I'm photographing it to sun, but you have these lovely light pink variegations. And that one seems a lot more upright in habit. Now, talking about the other one, they are so easy to take cuttings off. So what you do, or what I do, I'm going to take this out with all the others, and I take the one that hasn't actually got any roots on. Well done. Right, so there we go. So I've taken a cutting of the plant, stripped from one of the nodes. If you have a look, it has nodes, like little knobbly bits, and I take it from one of them, and then literally just pop it in a pot of water. I mean, this is a abnormal, because that doesn't normally happen. They're normally so easy to root on. Oops, I'm looking at it and you can't see it. That's silly. There we go. They're so easy to root on, and this one's not doing anything. But as you can see in the pot, the other two are done fabulously, and that's what I'm going to do with the others. I shall take the tips off all of them, stick them in various pots, you know, maybe 3, 4 to a pot, because the roots will get tangled, and then start from scratch. And the earlier I start, then by the end of the winter, the longer they'll be. At the end of the summer, the longer they'll be. So that's what I will do with these. And then also, on the windowsill we have an egg cup, and in the egg cup we have other stuff. Right, so these are some of the Christmas cactus that fell off. Okay, so as you can see, it's developing roots from there. So, you know, but it is also starting to develop roots from there, which is cool. And these literally fell off. There we are, this one's developing roots from the right end. There. So, if you look at a Christmas cactus, it will occasionally develop these while it's still on the plant. And I think if you're going to take cuttings and you see something like this, it's a good idea to take it from there. But the one thing about these is you have to let them callus or dry out. So you can take off these nodes, make sure you have at least 3 main leaves, and then you leave them for 24 hours, and then you just pop them in water. And they will, as you can see, shoot from the bottom. I'm going to leave these a bit longer before I put them in soil, just to make sure, but that will give me some more. And these, like I say, these were the ones that were knocked off because Jim's in there at the moment, but that isn't to say that you can't remove them yourself. Right, this one's not done very well. I didn't know. This is the one that died over winter, and that's sort of not done very well. Oh, there's a third. Oh, there we go. This one's done really well. This one is one of the Christmas cactus, and that has got super roots. So yeah, I'd wait till they were at least like that before I even considered putting them in a pot. So, oh good. So this one is the little plant that had hanging plant that was, it had been killed. Now I saw in TikTok or something that you could cut it off into sections and root it. Now it has obviously done that. The 2 sections have rooted quite well. This one's done really well, but it has taken forever. So this one especially, actually they both look like they can be potted on. So I might leave them in there for a bit longer. Yeah, it's just simply an egg cup with water. I chose an egg cup because they can sit in it properly. There we go, without sort of falling over. I might put them in a bit bigger, but there you go. Okay, so I wanted a record of my various orchids. Now these are all dendrobiums? Oncidiums. Damn, I've got 3 types, dendrobium, phalaenopsis and oncidiums. I got the wrong one. So there is this one, which has large round shape pieces at the bottom. And this is the one that was flowering. You can see lots of lovely roots there. We have a brown leaf. Will that come off? No. I see if they will come off on their own, but I don't pull them off. That might damage them. So the oldest one is this, and then they will send out 2 either side, which is those, and then they again will send out 2. So this one sent out this one here, and that one there, and then it was the new one that flowered. You can just see, there we have the flower stem there. And then one of those, this little one here, sent out this new shoot. So you can just see this one thickening up. There we go. And if anything's going to flower, it'll be this one, because it's always the new ones that shoot. So this one's doing quite well. Of course, this piece is being the oldest, and yeah. So these leaves are a bit dead, but that's doing nice. It's also filling the pot, and they I don't know, I might repot it. I mean, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I plant this one with its 2 side shoots and the baby at the back, then that side shoot over there might produce more, and because there's no point in me repotting this piece, because that won't produce any more side shoots. But it is quite healthy, and like I say, this is the one that has flowered twice, so that's doing fine. That was okay. There are 2 of this one and this one I bought, and they were actually one flower. And when I started to repot it into this pot, oh, it's got no holes around it. Oh, of course it hasn't. Yeah, these ones need a little bit more moisture than phalaenopsis, because they grow terrestrially in swampy ground, so they need a little bit more moisture. This one's getting a bit wrinkly. I have no idea why it does this. I mean, it gets the same. This normally shows irregularity in watering, but it gets the same water as the other one, and it does. But it also looks, if you look, you know, you want the bulbs, or I can't remember what they're called, but you want these to look nice and smooth like this one. Now this one has a reservoir, so this one at the bottom, can't see it really, there we are, it has a little reservoir of water, and it has almost 2 wicks that go from the bottom of the pot into the water, so it's always drawing up water. And this one has, oh, there's a baby, there we are, that's a baby one. It has nice, oh, another baby, taut, smooth, little swollen bulbils, I don't know what they're called, which means it's properly hydrated, and that's the oldest one. So that means it's properly hydrated. Whereas this one, if you look at it, that one at the back, I know it's one of the old ones, but it's beginning to wrinkle up. Now, it's not due for a water, but I think I might, see the stones are still wet, I might top it up. The way I water these ones in the bases, I literally pour water and food in through the top, and make sure the bottom area is full of water. So it has its own reservoir, and also these stones, this is lacquer, helps keep a moisture. And it's normally Tuesdays I do it, so I shall top them up today. As you can see, this is the oldest one, and that's quite wobbly. It's like an old tooth, that's quite wobbly and may come out. It's got, you know, dry leaves. If the dry leaves come out of their own, that's fine. Don't force them. This is a new one. I mean, the leaves that have come on, the central leaves, they look fine. They look really nice. But the outside ones look a bit wobbly. There's another one here. This is another shoot. And this is one of the, but this has never flowered. And again, neither has that one. But yes, I was very surprised. They literally fell apart while I was repotting them. So I've potted them on into 2, and they had 3 of these bulbils each, and they've done really well. So hopefully this spring, this summer, they'll start flowering. Okay, they're red. You saw the one in spring, the one at the back, that was red, and this again is another variation on red. So I bought myself this one, which is yellow. So this is the sort of flowers that they give you. They give you a long stem with multiple flowers on, and these are, there we go, Oncidium juiced. That's what that one is. I was clever and kept the label. And as you can see, there we are. So that was flowering when I bought it. That's still quite green. So this is the stem that it flowered from. This is a new stem. I did repot this because it was very high. I mean, that was on top of the soil, so it was high right up off the soil. So you've got, this is one of the old ones, and this is the new one. So this is the one that has grown since I've had it. Look at all these roots. And then this is another new one, and again, look at all the roots. This is what you're after, these new roots. So yeah, there we go. That has packed the pot with lots of lovely roots going downwards towards where the water is, which is lovely. Green and healthy. So I can't see any flower spikes in this one, which is a shame, but who knows? That one might flower, which would be lovely. But yes, these are, I thought these would be difficult to look after. But with this method seems to work really well for all of my orchids, actually. I wish I could find some more jars like this, because this is one of the smaller pots. These bigger pots, I can't find anything they can fit in. This one has holes, which is what I do for the Oncidiums, because the Oncidiums like to have air around their roots because they are an arboreal type. They grow actually on trees in the air, whereas this is one that I haven't, because this keeps the moisture in, you'd think. I don't know why that. I might move it where it is, actually. But they're doing well, they're growing. So that's the Oncidiums. This is my one Dendrobium. Now this is very different from either of the others. I mean, not only does it have a very different way of growing, it produces these almost bamboo-like stems. Oops, I'll get back a bit. And then the flowers are borne on these spikes. You get like 3-4 flowers each spike. They're also deciduous. So in winter, it should technically drop all those leaves. Now, I bought this flowering in winter. So I've brought it here, put it on that corner, because the orchids seem to really love that corner. And it flowered for a good few weeks. And then they dropped, which was lovely, which is nice. They're a nice pink flower, which is awesome. Now, these ones need a little bit more water. I've left it in its own compost, and I've put it in an orchid pot. And the orchid pots, yeah, if I can get this one out, have like a little shelf so that the orchid doesn't stand in water, so it's not soaked. So I tend to just make sure that the the potting compost is moist with this one. Now I thought, okay, it's been forced to flower in the summer, so I thought, well, we'll leave it, let it flower, stick it over there in the corner and see what happens. And I'm very happy to say, come on, it's got babies. So we got one here, we've got one just there, and then we've got one on the other side just here. So I was very happy with that. So they will come off like these do. I mean, this one unfortunately got broken by the look of it. But they will come out and they will grow stems like this. And then hopefully they will flower, which is awesome. It may even continue to grow from, from the tip up here, you know. It may not, I don't know. But then the big ones will get, yeah. But like I say, I've had it a couple of months and I'm really pleased that it's starting to do something. So we'll see how that one progresses. Cool. And these are my Phalaenopsis. Now the Phalaenopsis or moth orchid is the one you're liable to see in supermarkets and things like that. It's normally the most easiest to grow. Right. As you can see, I have two different types of cultivation for these plants. So these ones are in the same mix as everything else. And this one was almost dead. I had a bad year 2 years ago where nearly all of my Phalaenopsis died. And this one, this is when I started to change the potting compost and how I look after them. This one literally had that leaf and that leaf, and I think another one that was down here, which has subsequently died, and no roots. I had two that were very similar to that, and this is the only one that survived. But as you can see, we've got a new leaf, and it's taken a long time to grow. And this is suffering from a bad case of setback, which is, if you can see, I mean, this is a normal growth of leaf, and then this one is tiny. And that literally means it's trying to conserve all of its energy to get a decent root system. But you can now see that these ones are a bit bigger, and this one growing now will hopefully be a bit bigger than that. And then they will eventually get out, so they're back to normal. But yeah, this one's had a long, hard struggle. And then we have this one, which again, it's got a slight setback, but this one has desperately been trying to flower. It keeps on trying to flower. I mean, it's putting out all of these aerial roots. It likes its aerial roots. You know, it's got quite a few. And it's put out a flower stem a while ago. And because it remained green, I just cut it back to here. And now it's put out this little side shoot again with a flower on. I'm not 100% sure if I just want to cut the whole thing off to allow it to concentrate on growing. If you look around, what you're looking for is some nice green roots pressed up against the side of the pot, and I can't see any, except the aerial roots. Oh, this is worrying, and it's not very stable, so that's a sort of indication that it's not got many roots deep down. Now what I could do is repot it, but the thing is, aerial roots are different to the roots that it puts out in the soil. So just burying these won't do it any good at all. So yeah, I might cut that spike off and give it some TLC. Whereas, now, again, I've had one die recently in this stuff. It's a mix of leca and moss and the wood chip that you tend to get for your orchid compounds. And one die, it flowered twice and then just died, and that really didn't have a good root system. Whereas this one, you know, if I grab it and move in the pot, so that must have a good root down there somewhere. There we are, there's one. There we are. So there we go. So that's what you're looking for, this good thick root, and that probably means there's more inside as well. Move out of the way. So that one's nice and sturdy, whereas this one, again, very loose. Right, so I shall do that later. Now the other way I cultivate orchids, which actually seems better because these are done really well, is this. Somebody on the interweb said you can do it like this, and I thought, I'll give it a go. Now this one was again one of the saved ones of the orchids that died a couple of years ago. And when this one, I had this one, and it had, because you can tell because it got little spots on. There we go. There was 1, 2, and that was 3, 4. There was 5 leaves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves have grown. And if you look, it did try and flower. And my collie dog, who wags her tail like a loony, snapped it off. But whoop, there you go. There's another flower shoot coming, which is awesome. So the root system, actually I'll take this out for you. There we go. Now these are, like I think I've mentioned before, they're brown because of the feed is very dark. But you can see here, there's a new root growing, and this is all new. That one's a bit dead, that one can come off. But it's doing really well. I mean, it's doing really well. So, yeah. The only thing with Phalaenopsis is you can't get water in these leaves. In the wild, they grow upside down. So they hang, excuse me, darling, come here. They hang that way. So, of course, any moisture just runs off. And these roots cling to the bark of trees. And you get immense root systems. There we go. And this was a little 50p one. I mean, you can see its recovery. You can see the length of these leaves. So this leaf is now longer than that leaf. That leaf is not. So it's recovering from its setback, which is fabulous, which again is why it's flowering. And this little one, this one was a 50p recovery from IKEA. Now it's chucking out this flipping root, which actually looks a bit icky. But it's got this long green root all the way down, and you can see just there. Oh, you can't. Come on. Here we go. There we go. And that is the growing tip. So that root all the way up. There we go. All the way down there to the growing tip. And it's chucked out an aerial root as well. Right. That looks a bit soft though. I will leave these to dry out. So what happens with these is they stand with their roots in the air for 5 days a week, and then for 2 days a week they're immersed to just below where the actual leaves start in water. And I think I've only just emptied these out yesterday, so I shall leave them for another week. But yeah, these do really well. I've got 4 like that, and I've got only 2 in the potting mix at the moment, which is a little disturbing because obviously this works. The roots also, which is why these are in clear pots, because they are wrapped around a tree trunk, they're normally visible, and they do some photosynthesis, which is why the roots are green. So having the roots bared is more natural. When you think about them in the rainforests, the water would dribble down between the trunk chinks in the bark. They don't need a lot of nutrients, but there are plenty of proprietary orchid feeds out there. Don't feed them with normal plant food, for goodness sake. Yeah. So this is sort of was like a test. We'll see which one works. I mean, I don't like losing orchids. I don't like them dying. I mean, I love the flowers. That's why I grow them. But we'll see which is better. Because if the bare root does better for them, like I say, I have 4 of these, and I've had 4 of these, and these are down to 2. Maybe I'll just put everything in bare root. We shall see. But this mix definitely works for the oncidium and the dendrobium. Well, the oncidiums. The dendrobium is in its own pot. But there, we will see. I thought I'd just show you the other 2 I have in glass jars. So this one again was a rescue from IKEA, again a 50p, and that's got an amazing root. That one has grown, because I tried to put them in pots where the roots don't touch the bottom, and that has obviously grown, so its little root touches the bottom, which is fab. And that has produced a new leaf, this lovely one, which is a decent length. But that's fabulous. So that's their, I think they're both white. I'm not sure what colour that is. I haven't seen that flower. And then this one was just a purchase that I decided as a healthy plant to put in this. I bought it 6 jar specially. It had 4 leaves when I bought it, so it's produced 2 nice new leaves, which are an equal length. The newest, this one is the newest one, is an equal length to the one below it. So that is recovering from its setback. When you repot things, they will always be set back a bit. But that has plenty of roots. That's always had a good root system. And you can see new growth. There's the paler. As the paler shoots there. Whereas this one was a sort of rescue, so I'm surprised it's done so well. That was one that was almost dying, that had very little root system, but it's doing quite well. But I thought I'd show you those. So yes, so they've done really well. The one thing with moth orchids, Phalaenopsis, is the rotting of the root system. When you get an orchid home, they will have almost a root ball. I mean, this one did here, where it's obviously come from the nursery to be potted on. It had like a plastic cage with very rotten moss in and a lot of small roots, and that will then choke the plant and cause it to die. So whether having their roots to the air in the week is better for them. Now these ones are a little moist. I've noticed they're a little moist, and it might just be that the jars are too small and they're not getting enough moisture around the roots. So I might promote these to slightly bigger jars, because I don't want them to die. They've done both very well, like I say. But this aerial root is a very soft. I think that's going to come off because it's very soft as to where it meets. There you go, see the damage, the plant. So I think that's because it holds, whereas these are big and it has more room for the air to circulate. I think they're a bit small, so I shall change those. I shall see if I find some jars bigger. If not, I shall go and buy them some. But I thought I'd show you those because I'm really pleased with those. It's always a learning process. Try something new, see what happens.